Welcome to the Living Well podcast, hosted by Terry Megley, CEO of City Union Mission. In each episode, we bring you inspiring stories of transformation and insights from those who've overcome life's challenges. Join us on this journey of resilience and discovery. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Living Well podcast. And this is a follow-up from our previous connection and conversation that we had with Sheryl Hasmanis. And so we're excited to get back into the story, Sheryl. You had communicated and shared with us about your journey, which had a lot of rough patches with struggling with some ADHD and school and friends, and that journey that the Lord actually took you through, and then finally getting into some mental health issues and marriage struggles. And so as we pick up this journey, this really inspiring story that we just really want all of you to connect with and know that Sheryl is she's a phenomenal storyteller, and we want to move through this story so we're going to pick up when you came in to City Union Mission at the Family Center, and that's an emergency shelter. And so, Sheryl, why don't you just pick that up about how you found City Union Mission and what was the process of you getting to our front door?
There's a lot to that. Of course there is. I had, it was 2009. It was the beginning of the year, but things have been going downhill since just before the elections in 2008. I was working in food service, bartending, not being able to pay my rent because now nobody was going out to eat, and that was my only source of income. So I was evicted from my apartment, and I had some issues because I was driving my car. Actually, it was a truck, but I was driving my truck without my license. And these were the paralysis pieces too. I had a problem because I was getting in trouble going in and getting my driver's license and my registration were trigger points for me. So I had a hard time getting those things done. Simple things, but to me it was life altering. I couldn't get it done. I got lots of tickets and I had to do a lot of things, and I ended up having a bench warrant after some just miscommunication mostly, but it was because of the things I had done. I am owning that piece, but I ended up in jail for having no license, suspension of license.
So most likely you failed to appear in court.
Well, it was a parole thing that they put me on. Then I couldn't get to it because I couldn't drive. It was all those, many series of unfortunate circumstances. Yeah.
And so you were eventually, did you turn yourself in, or were you picked up? What
I wanted to do was, once I had, I was getting evicted, I wanted to make changes. I was thinking I was going to do something. I needed to be done with all this mess. The mess was like over the top. So I got things picked up with my house. I asked my son to take me to jail. I turned myself in. I spent 11 days at the city jailhouse, which was so awful. There's a whole story in that. And then 4 days at the county, and then they released me with no charges because it was kind of ridiculous. It was, like time served, that get out of here. But they opened the door for me to leave the jail at 5 o'clock on a Friday evening. And I couldn't get my money back because all the stuff was already closed. I didn't have a lot of money, but I had enough to make a phone call or anything. I didn't have a cell phone then. It was, all those multiple things. So I had torn jeans. I had just stench because I had just one pair of clothes, that I had for 14 days. It wasn't all I wore, but they weren't washed. And I didn't know where I was going to go sleep. I couldn't get a hold of anybody. I didn't have anybody to call. I just got tossed out onto the street, and I didn't know what to do. So I just started walking, and I started looking for somewhere to sleep. I was panicking because it's like, how can I sleep on the street? I don't know what I'm going to do here. Had no idea of what to do. So I went up to a Walmart nearby where I knew a friend was going to be working, and she wasn't there. So, those pieces come into place. And I called my son's cell phone collect because I knew my ex-husband would get the charge because that was, and I had already found City Union Mission in the Yellow Pages. So, Yellow Pages at this payphone, I had already called there, and they said that if I got there, I could stay there. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to get there. And I was so thankful for that. It was, I can't even tell you how thankful I was for that. My son answered the thing and he goes, well, I'm downtown, but I'll come get you. So he left his friends and his whole having a good time thing. He was 18 and doing his thing, came pick me up and drove me down to City Union Mission and dropped me off at like 11 or 11:30 at night, which the whole mission is closed down. I'm in downtown Kansas City and I've never even been there really. And I'm like, they kind of opened up the door for me to walk into this room and there were no lights on and I didn't know what I was doing. I was like a mess. I stunk. I was, there was so many levels of this. But the next morning I woke up and I knew I was where I was supposed to be. It was just the weirdest thing. It was, I can't explain it. I know it was God. It was the peace, the acceptance in people's eyes of the people that work there, the welcoming, the joy of the Lord. You can say that, but if you understand or recognize it, you know what that is. And I could see it. And I was like, at first had told my mom that I was going to go to this shelter and I needed a bus ticket or a train ticket to go to Michigan. And because that was what I felt my only option was. I didn't have anybody here, but I had City Union Mission. And I went, no, I need to be close to my kids because my kids were staying with their dad right now because of where I was and what I was dealing with. I have to be with my kids. That was my goal. And so God made a way. He brought me City. And I didn't know that was going to be the change in my world. So,
you're just like any other mother. Mm-hmm. They want to be with their children and they feel that responsibility. But it sounds like that God was saying, I'm going to give you a peace, Sheryl, because this is where I need you to be. Mm-hmm. This is where I want you to become healthy.
Well, I didn't know that then.
But as we look back upon that, but so staff stepped up and they treated you just like anyone else.
Better. They
treat you better?
Well, they treat you like anyone else. I've been in the world of anywhere else. I've been in the world of waiting on people and people being fake nice and all of those things. There was a real sincerity about, hey, I care. And I know when somebody's telling me the truth because I spent so much time lying. When somebody tells me the truth and they say they care, it's like, yeah, okay. And that's why I see it in other people's eyes too. But I knew that the people I was talking to cared. It was a difference. It was a change that And that had to be a significant adjustment for you because knowing that you're living life thinking that I've got to earn people's approval, I got to work hard, I got to protect myself so people don't see that I'm broken inside. Right.
But you didn't have to put up the walls. It was just the staff loved on you.
Right
and
away.
Something changed in you.
Yeah, I knew that it was just like knowing, and it's weird to say it because I already had a plan, because I always have plans. I always have things running in my head going, I already had a plan. I was already going to do a certain thing. And it was just like, stop and stay. And I went, okay. I don't know why I'm staying here, but I was only there 2 days when I went into, and I asked, I said, what is this thing with the classes? I want to know more what these classes are. How do I do this? How does this start? And they go, well, you need to become part of a participant of the program in order to start doing it. And I go, okay. So I go, who do I talk to? And they go, well, go to Betty. Betty's office was right across from room 11. I knocked on her door. I said, can I get an application for this process? She goes, you've only been here 2 days. I go, no, I know. And I've already been to some of the classes and they were already, things that it's like, what? there's things that, people like codependency, like there's those, or I mean, the classes were so incredible. And there were only a couple that I've been to. And I was just like, man, these are good classes. I mean, I would listen to these, I wish I would have had those in my counseling, because the counseling I graduated from and didn't get this information. So I needed this information. She gave me the application. I filled it all out, told my story in the papers, and I was accepted onto a fast track of that beginning program. So thankful, so thankful.
Is it? And I do remember that, Sheryl. And
Yeah.
we called that the super track.
Yeah, that was
Because we wanted to eliminate the barriers
Yeah.
and give people opportunities to move into and taste and try out the long-term recovery program.
Oh yeah.
And you picked up on a few classes that it resonated with you, the codependency
Oh,
class.
it was huge. Yeah.
How did that codependency class challenge your long-held beliefs about who you thought you were?
Because I had come from an environment where a lot of the roles in a codependency were happening, and there was a lot of hidden vocabulary in our hidden communication in my family. I didn't have to know that my mom was mad to know that my mom was mad. I didn't have to know that, because, there would have been a look, or you should know, the codependency was so rampant that I had no idea what that was. I had never heard that term before. And there's lots of terms that I've learned since then that I've learned. And I'm it's that codependency piece, learning that there were specific roles in that, I was fit into a role, and I was doing a role and participating in that role and making decisions in that role. Confirmed also, this was the start of that speaking my truth into things, because the minute that I started to speak my truth into things, then somebody could understand, this is the truth of here. Now you can do with that what you want. Not, I have an expectation because I feel this way. It's, now you heard me say this. Now, if you choose to do this or you choose to do that, that's according to what you are, not me. But at least I've said my truth.
It must have felt like you were unshackled, that the chains that were on you invisibly began to drop, and the real Sheryl was starting to emerge.
It was incredible. I had been on medication for a while now. They were treating things like depression, the results of untreated ADHD. I had trouble with lots of things. So I was on medications, and because of the divorce and then being in these circumstances and nothing getting better, even though I knew God, I wasn't in this kind of understanding. So I know that he brought me there. So it's like, I consider that joy to even go homeless and in jail, which is really kind of bizarre, but it also makes me more relatable to more things. So
That's right.
Never thought I would ever be in jail. Never thought I would ever do all the things that I did. I really truthfully was still a good girl. I wasn't crazy, but I was fringe. So, just enough to, you can make better choices than this, but truth was my choice. And that was the piece that made the difference. When I started to get the confirmation and seeing it happen, hearing it happen in multiple classes where a scripture would say something, and in a different way you'd hear it over somebody just talking in the, out at the smoking table, because I was still smoking when I first got there. Hearing the gossip and the things, and just getting in my work, starting to read, and it just all started to, God worked through the mission in so many ways. So
as you begin to see your real self come out and begin to see how God was opening up your heart and mind to the reality of your life, there sounds like there was an opportunity that was presented to you for additional help.
I finished the first program and then got into the long-term program because I wanted these classes. These classes were phenomenal to me. They were talking in a language I understood. They taught me things that nobody else had ever said, like you should have boundaries. And if somebody isn't like respecting your boundaries, they don't care, kind of a thing, I needed to hear those things. Those were the first time, I thought that I was just expected to take that, or that I had to be a certain way and I had to listen to what other people were telling me. But I didn't harm anybody. I just spoke my truth, and then other people would decide how to handle it. My issue was that I know that I didn't always tell my ex-husband my truth. So then how could I expect him to do a certain thing back? So there was some healing in that too, where I had blamed him for so many things, but then I went, oh, I have to own part of that. I have to know that it was part me. I wasn't letting him know what I actually thought because I didn't speak it out loud. So in my fear, I didn't do the things I needed to do. So I know that it wasn't just his whatever and my whatever. It was, I had my own accountability in that. So,
and part of what you're describing is that once you begin to experience truth and the reality and be grounded in who you really are, that you begin to gain your voice back.
Right. And I had lost it for so long. I stopped having any kind of voice. And when I started to feel that again and to start to be who I was again, the depression fell away, the anxiety, and being in having a safe place with routine to happen. It was the first time in my life that I had ever had a place to be without chaos. That I wasn't always trying to figure my next move. To be able to, and there are things that I got away with because I was smart too, but God still, there was a lesson in that too, but I wasn't getting away with anything that was against what the program was.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, being on program and having some program experience myself, it's structured.
Right.
And you get a schedule.
And that was fabulous, yes.
And you needed structure, didn't you?
I needed it so much. And I needed it structure that wasn't forced and demanded. I mean, it was a choice. It was always given to me as a choice. The choice was, okay, you have the choice to either go back to that or do this. And we can't guarantee, but this is better. And so, of course, my choice would be to be better. It just was... I was like, oh, well, that's the easy choice. So continue to speak my truth and to continue to try to find that path. And he just kept opening it up and opening it up and opening it up for me. Every class that I went to, every opportunity I got to be in his presence, to go to church, to fellowship with other people, going through the same things, growing people together. Those bonds were incredible. They still are there. Like my bond, like knowing you, because you were one of the people that was there with that acceptingness in your heart and eyes too. Other people around me, the staff, the mission loved on me. And it was the first time I had felt real love, because God's love can, when it's God's love, it comes out. And I hadn't had that anywhere else. I mean, I'd been in church, but, you're still going through the routine. When you go into a building, people sort of know you. They don't really know you. They have a whole thing going on. But this was an experience of fellowship in a deeper way with somebody who really was giving God. The love of Christ was coming through.
And the love that you experienced, obviously, it went against everything that you've learned and experienced growing up, that you didn't have to earn love, right? And that you didn't have to give love to receive love. Mm-hmm. That must have really put you in a tailspin.
Well, it put me in a tailspin too, because that's the way I felt about my kids, because I had that, I knew it was there. Why wasn't I getting it? Because I could give it like that, because God was already working in me, and so I love my kids unconditionally. They were like driving force, like I've already talked about some of that I still wasn't doing everything perfect or in any way, but I mean, I love my kids like that. And I'm like, where is that? Where is that? I mean, I'm not saying my parents didn't love me. They just didn't have the Christ love that I was.
And, you're describing something that, all single moms or even mothers that are married, that that are struggling with codependency, they look for children to reciprocate and fill that void in their life, right?
Right.
And that's what you're describing. You loved, and they didn't love you back the way that you really needed to be loved.
Well, kids shouldn't be that for us, you know.
That's exactly right.
Kids shouldn't be the fulfillment of that for us. We should be that for them, and then we should be with our Father giving it to us. And that happens with Christians or other people that can do that because the love of God is flowing through them, which is exactly what I did feel the moment.
So you had to experience unconditional love by God
With strangers that I didn't know, yes.
Yes, because you couldn't earn God's love.
Never.
And once you experience that radical change in your mind, that God loves you just as you are, you and your
That was weird.
perceived brokenness, right?
Well, there was no way I could accept it. It was that, and then I did.
You did.
Yes.
Who could not accept the wonderful love of Jesus?
And that was it. Even though I did get it, I hadn't seen it. You know, I hadn't, and like I said, I because of my environment and being in fear and things like that, I can read a room. I can see everybody's little twitch, and even I had grandparents that didn't even speak English. So I also read body language really well. And so I was always in that fact, you know, it wasn't, you know, that trauma kind of ready to fight. And seeing real love coming out of people I really didn't know was life-changing. It was exactly what I was seeing. There's something here. And I used to say when I was first there, there's something here. But now, because it's 15 years later, I get it a whole lot better. But, yeah, I couldn't put an explanation on it. I didn't know what I was seeing, and I didn't know what it was until I've gone through and done and finished and completed, and then lived more, and then lived more, and then yeah.
You know, you kind of remind me of the story that Jesus and the woman at the well.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories.
Looking for
yes.
love, right?
In all the wrong places. I can really identify with that. Not because I did, I mean, but that's exactly the kind that comes up in my spirit all the time. Like that's, you know, when we look to the world for something to fulfill something that is only God can only He can do it. He gives us the gift of having people that can do that if you find them, or when when you're doing that, because it's His love that flows through, and that's the difference in how I understand it now. You know, that piece of, and it's the same thing that I can't work without having that work too. Because if I'm not able to love on some people with His love, then I'm not doing what He has me doing too now. So yeah, love is God. God, that's where it flows. And if it's not from God, we're trying to find it all in the wrong places. That's the instant gratification of so many things, and there it isn't in the world.
So when you experience that divine love from God, that's when you experience peace and understanding reality, start making great choices, understanding, making meaning of life, and then you're almost at the end of your program.
Yes.
And what's God talking to you, saying to you? What are you thinking?
I'm here for a reason. Like I said, comfort me through this so that I can comfort others. I knew that this is what God was bringing me to. There was no reason, I wasn't looking for a purpose for my pain, but He was showing me that even inside, while I was growing and other people were growing alongside of me, that I had some of that I could like love them too. So it wasn't just happening now from the staff. It was happening through other people that were starting to experience it and being able to do it back and forth. So friendships were formed, and that kind of flow from me, and I got to talk to people, and I got to feel that I could use be part of His healing stuff. And that flow was the thing that was helping me grow and heal too. So yeah, that's pretty next level when it started happening, and I can't do anything else now. you know.
Well, you can do a lot of things.
Well, I mean, it's just that when you feel like you're here for you have a purpose, and it's greater than what we are. There is nothing else in this world that matches that. I mean, that I can be used of God. That is to be able to love on somebody, to see in their eyes and to be able to love that person is
You experienced codependency growing up,
Yeah.
and thought that was the right path in relationships, and you get on the program and you're going through classes. Codependency now gets reversed. You're no longer looking for other people to give you self-esteem and to fill that void.
Right.
Now you have the love of Jesus filling that void in
Filled
your
it.
life. Filled it. And so you're now kind of describing that you're no longer codependent, but you are actually, depending on God
Right.
for the love and the value and worth that you are today.
Right. And I know, and this is something that's really incredible because, we still are flesh and bone. We're still going to have our things. We're still going to, and I come from a world of lots of stuff. So every once in a while, a lot of times things come up and I catch myself. I have to, I even have a little thing on my thing that says, watch your tongue, because I want to just go to the old self. I know better, but that he gives me that peace and understanding that he's got it. And it doesn't matter that I have my own thoughts or my own opinion. It isn't, I'm not entitled to something. I see that he's doing something and I don't know the answer to it. But as long as I keep doing what I need to do to love on somebody, then things just work out. And I don't know, there's going to be bumps. There's going to be things. I've had bumps. I've gone through other things. My life was in a vacuum. I didn't just all of a sudden, end up in the park and got to play every day. I mean, I still am going through my own struggles. My families are going through struggles. But I have complete peace because I know my truth is that he's got it. I mean,
I love that. He's got it.
He's got it.
That is a very strong message for those that are with us today. Our theme of this series is restoring lost love.
Right.
And you've kind of shared how the Lord has restored this lost love, and what's an encouraging word that you can give to somebody today that is going, I'm not sure I feel worthy. I don't feel loved. What can you say to them today?
Well, we're not. First off, I'll just say that we're not worthy of that. And that's okay because he does it anyway and he does it beyond and better. So the fact that somebody loves me unconditional without having anything to do with my merit or my worth suddenly releases all those things that were clung to me because of the oh, you're bad, you're not good, you did all these things that were wrong. I've been forgiven. My life is made whole because of who he is and not who I am. And when my strength is in that, I can't fail. But if my strength is in me and all the mess that's going on in this world, there's no hope. But I have hope because I know who my strength is and I stand in that. Because, even when I do those little bumps I can have so much peace in knowing that it doesn't matter what I understand. If as long as I keep looking to his face, which is what I got a tattoo about, was sunflower face the sun, that it was about that I am about that now. I have to stand in his light, look at his face, and the shadows, like Helen Keller said, the shadows are, you can't see the shadows if you're looking at the face of God. So I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know where it's going, but I know that if I could just keep looking to him and keep moving in that direction, I'll be good.
I love that. I love that. I hope that this has been inspiring to you, that you've heard some incredible insight from Sheryl's life. That I loved what you said. God's got this, and he's doing
Yes.
some things behind the scenes that is going to encourage you. He's working things out for his glory. And by the way, I love how you said, Sheryl, is he loves you despite all the things we think negative about ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
So-
And I was the worst of that.
Well, we all are. And so, again, you've just shared a wonderful many drops of goodness again into the well for us. So thank you. Hope that you've enjoyed this. Tune in again as we continue to learn about these inspiring stories like Sheryl. Thank you again, Sheryl.
Thanks for tuning in to The Living Well. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media for even more inspiration. Want to join our mission? Visit cityunionmission.org. Stay inspired, and we'll catch you next time.